places between stores and factories. So this kind of has a warm spot in my heart. I'm the director of entertainment sales here at B&J Fabrics. So I've mainly coordinated for fabrics for all TV shows, films, and then when theater opens back up, theater. And that kind of just entails when we get sketches or just requests. And if we don't have it particularly here in store, I'll go essentially out of my way to reach out to other vendors to see what they have. B&J Fabric has been in the garment district for a very long time, older than I'm not even close to it. I think it's over almost 50 years. It started off in 40th Street, I believe. I moved this location almost 10 years ago. It's a family-owned business, so I believe we're like in 3 generations right now. It kind of started as a supply of nylon for parachutes during the war, and from my understanding, then it trickled down into what we kind of have now in retail. That's it.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background, your industry, and how you got into fashion?
Of course. So I love my job a lot because I'm a theater nerd. I started as like an actor in high school, and then I found myself watching Progress Runway a lot in high school, and I wanted to learn how to sew, so I joined the costume department in my high school. My teacher, who my biggest supporter in high school, she helped me learn how to sew, and I kind of created costumes for all our productions in high school. And then from there, I went to the University of North Carolina School of the Arts for costume design and technology, particularly with the background technology, so more of the construction of taking an idea to reality. And then as I kind of learned there, I also kind of realized that maybe I wanted to dive into fashion, less costume, more like retail, more people. So then I went to Fashion Institute of Technology, where I studied fashion. And then it was kind of like, I love both. I love theater and I love fashion. And I got a job here and it kind of merged the two, and it really it lets me have the best of both worlds, because I work with a lot of costume designers, a lot of undercover movies, a lot of theater, at the same time, a lot of fashion design clientele. And I am a nerd about fabrics. I do like telling the story, so it kind of really blended everything that I'm passionate about to one kind of area.
That's perfect. So you found the right thing.
I did, yes. It took me a while, but yes, finally found the right thing.
And I feel like for so many of us that work in the industry, like this is our mecca, this is our heaven, because B&J has like the best fabrics, the best people working here, most knowledgeable. So it's such a treat.
Yeah, we really our specialty is that we have communication with vendors overseas. So a lot of cottons from Switzerland, cottons from Japan, silks from Italy. It's just a plethora of things something that sadly you can't find it in the States, but America doesn't really specialize in that stuff. So we really go to the source of where it all kind of started. Countrywide when we source our fabric. So we really kind of have, I would say, the top tier of what
Awesome. Well, would you be willing to give us a tour? Maybe even starting here with the thing.
Of course, what else I can have here? Yeah. So we actually haven't been with us since the pandemic. We took this time to actually redo our whole store setting. So if you haven't been here recently, it's gonna look a complete different 180, I would say. And I'm still learning too. So every time we come in, we are kind of following the New York State guidelines. So we always do a check-in and we have like sanitizer hands prior. But Anthony's already done that, so you can just come on ahead. Bear with me, actually. Hi. This is my check-in for a name and a phone. So we have a lot of stuff here in the back that we have already displayed out on the floor. Think of it as like when you're shopping for clothes, instead of kind of pulling out rolls and kind of eyeballing, you would actually have everything on a hanger. And so everything is kind of pulled out, and then we have a nice little color coordinate system where we know where to find it in the back. We try our best to separate everything in kind of the fiber source, the fiber content. So we kind of break it down to cottons, synthetics, silk, crayons, triacetates, tools, and kind of keeping everything in one group so it's easier for you as a consumer and as a shopper to kind of know what you're looking for in one area. So here we have a lot of our cotton shirting. We are one of the few retailers, I think, that carry Liberty of London, which is a very prestigious, well-known cotton, I don't want to say cotton because they also have silk, but basically they just specialize in all of prints. We have all our shirting and cotton. We then, so then, as I kind of mentioned before, we curate a lot of fabric from overseas, so we try our best to also kind of subdivide them into sections. So like we have a little section of all our Japanese prints and our Japanese cottons that come directly from Japan. And then we have a lot of cotton novelties and then cottons from India. But then, as you know, cotton can be made in various forms. Or if you don't know, cotton can be made. Cotton essentially is the fiber, is that little cotton ball, but just spread out into thread and then woven. But you can essentially weave it in different ways that make up a different fabric. So cotton knits are essentially just kind of like a woven what you have in a regular t-shirt. Then you have cotton wovens that have like a button-up shirt. So we try to separate that as well. But then another thing about fabrics is it's also the way it's woven. You also want to kind of subdivide that as well, and then kind of subdivide that with the fiber content. It gets kind of confusing if you're not familiar, because it's like one and then A and then 1A. But we try our best to kind of make it easier for you. As you go down, you have various things of wool. I'm biased because I work here, but we carry a lot of wool from Italy. A lot of things are actually special made for us. So they'll show us a sample and we'll be like, can we get in certain colors? And sometimes we have exclusivity with these mills. And a lot of these mills are essentially mills that some of the lead designers go to as well. Unlike some other stores, we really don't carry a lot of dead stock or essentially designer fabrics, because that's when the designer has a leftover, or essentially the middleman has leftover and they're just trying to get rid of it. We don't like to do that as much just because we work a lot with film, TV, and theater, and consistency is key. And even with fashion designers, kind of like getting it again for the next collection or just for another bulk order. You never know how things kind of work in the fashion industry. One day, like Heidi Klum says, one day you're in, next day you're out. But sometimes when you're in, you'll get like a huge order from Bergdorf or Neiman Marcus, and then you have to figure out how to find that again, because that's what they see. However, we do run the instance, like Anthony was touching it, it's a cotton silk from Calvin Klein that never made it to the runway. So we have contact with people who work in fabric research and development. And so essentially it's like when the designer has an idea of how they want to create a fabric, but it never makes it to the runway senses. Like they get it and they're not sold or not convinced, or just they nix it. So then that's when we get that. And we try to only get dead stock fabrics when it's special. And this particular one, it comes from Calvin Klein, I think during the Raf Simons era as if it was long ago. But essentially it's just the only difference between this with our other double wool crepes is that there's a bit of silk in it, so it gives it a little dryness and crispy. Fashion, at least for me, is storytelling, but at the same time, you're wearing it, so it's kind of what you feel, how you feel in it, and the touch of it all. But yeah, so then we carry all our wool suitings, again, mostly from Italy, mostly made to order. And then wool also comes in wool tweeds. Wool tweeds, everybody kind of thinks of it as Chanel. So it's almost like Chanel fabrics. Then you have your heavier wools. We actually work with the mill that carries, that works directly with Chanel. So Chanel essentially will go to these places personally and pick out. And then sometimes we have those connections as well, and we're allowed to certain of them. Sometimes Chanel works a deal, or these big houses work a deal where it's exclusive just for them. So like we can't get a lot. Of course.
The price tag says $3.95 per yard.
So yeah, that's actually I was like, no. So the price is $3.95. So again, since most of our stuff are imported goods, it's all about bringing it in, customs, shipping. It becomes like a process.
Right.
But also for young designers, especially fashion designers who don't have, I don't want to say credibility yet, but don't have the resources to start building accounts with these fashion houses. You know, a lot of places ask that you spend a certain amount of money. So this is kind of a good introduction to high quality fabrics that eventually, when your brand does go up, hopefully does go up, that you can kind of get the quality before. Does that make sense?
It does, and it seems like from the tweed section, like that would be the very high end, but then you have some much more.
Yeah. And then we have a lot of, and then it really comes down to where we get it from, the relationship we have for these vendors and mills. I think I use the word relationship a lot because it's actually really important. Because it's when you have longevity like B&J Fabrics for over decades and a good consistency, they want to sell to you, they want to work out better deals, they want to provide you with, you know, easy shipping costs so you can actually get more. So for us, again, it's quantity over quality over quantity. But essentially, yeah, we're the middleman then for you as a fashion designer, and even costume designer as well, because sometimes they only need enough for one. And you have minimums with some of these vendors.
Right.
So all our rules. Then we have linens, cotton. You know, aside from fashion design, there's interior design, which has become a booming industry because everybody has been home and they're tired of seeing the same thing. So we've curate a lot of linens from Ireland, not so much from Italy because that's not what they specialize in. Belgium. So again, like certain countries have certain specialties, and you know everybody thinks Italy's the creme de la creme, which it is to some degree. But you know they're not. Their main thing is it linen. You know that's not their niche. That's not their gig, as they would say. So we go somewhere else for that. Linen. We have velvets, ultra suedes, nylons. Velvet comes in a variety of forms. You have mohair velvet, which could be used for like upholstery. You have cotton velvet. You have polyester velvet. You have rayon silk velvet. You have, and each velvet obviously is for different purposes. One thing that I've learned from fashion, especially costume design, is understanding what fabrics do what. Like, you know, certain dresses require certain drapes. So like I wouldn't use this, I would use this. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, you start dissecting a photograph of a design, and then my job is also to kind of help translate that to reality and not waste the designer's time of like going through stuff that just won't work. Essentially, I'm like I have like a little Rolodex in my head, and I try to like combine all this into like one category depending on what they're working on. So the velvet section, loafers, a lot of, you know, fashion is transforming, I think, in a place where like luxury, loungewear, tech wear, sportswear. So, you know, we're working a lot on creating more of, to kind of get into that market of, you know, of nylons, of like what you find at Athletica, Lululemon and all that. It is tricky because a lot of these companies have the volume and kind of curate and get stuff made specifically for them. But we do have nylons, we do have all that great rainwear, sportswear, that streetwear vibe. We have polyester and rayon counterparts of what you would see in like silk wear, if that makes sense. So like if you don't want a wool gabardine, you can find that in a different fiber, such as like cotton or rayon, which, you know, would be a little bit more useful if you're trying to do like a summer collection. You know, you don't want to really wear wool in the summer, you want to wear something breezy. And you have to think of the consumer as well, washability. So you want to, you know, one thing is easier to wash than the other. That all, you know, goes in my mind. Then something that's a very popular textile that everybody seems to kind of know the word to is brocades. We curate a lot of our brocades from Italy and Spain. There is a big house in Spain or mill in Spain that kind of does it all. So we kind of go to that source, Italy as well. Brocades are super interesting. I'm trying to find fun one.
I just always think like really textural.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, textural. It's usually raised. It's funny because brocades break down. So remember when I talked about like subcategories? So like a brocade could break down into subcategories like cloquet, matelassé, and those are essentially textury, but it's different because the way they're woven. And like it's kind of fun. It's like a fun gross fact. So cloquet, if I remember correctly, is French for blister. But essentially it's like a textured stuff, but it's like a puffy one.
Right.
Like it's like kind of filled with like a little bit of thread and like mostly air, let's say. So you would touch certain things and like some things are more in the texture and some things are more visual and kind of dimensional.
Like, and this one, for example, has like eyelashes made of a certain textile.
Yeah. So it's raffia. So kind of what you think of like shoes, like like woven straw. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
But this is like your high cotton version.
So fun.
You know, a lot of our being in the heart of the garment district and also not being too far from Broadway, we curate a lot of our brocades with a fashion mindset, but particularly also with a costume mindset of kind of like what can be seen from an audience member on stage. So like we really don't specialize so much in tiny brocades, but more like impactful ones so that like we can also address that other clientele that is also very important to us. Brocades, we color coordinate them, which is easy for some people. They like it because there's just really, if they're looking for a specific color, they can just kind of pull and grab. And I think, again, what separates us from other stores when you pull and grab is that you get to just kind of have it and see it, visualize it, drape it over, and kind of hold on to instead of carrying a huge roll with you down the aisles as you're still looking around.
You getting shade.
No, I love fabrics. And you know, you have the brocades, you have mores, a lot of A's. I've noticed like and again, we try our best to divide those in categories that make it easy, one for you and one for us when we look around. And again, my job is to, you know, a lot of people have, especially when they start early, have a hard time verbalizing what they want. And it's just, you know, because sometimes they don't know it and they don't see it yet. And it's kind of my job to read between those lines and figure out like what you're looking for. Like, you know, I always try my best to see a sketch or a design or even like some sort of reference just so I can point you in the right direction. Because it also sometimes it gets frustrating even for the consumer, and then sometimes they kind of doubt the design, but really it's just that it's a matter of just finding the right thing to really, I want to say, inspire you to keep it going. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And there's so many options here. I can feel like for some people it might feel a little overwhelming, like where do I even start? But like it's so nice that they could come to you.
Yeah.
Anyone of your colleagues.
Yeah.
This is what I want to make. You have that. You point in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, yes. It's we all specialize in that. We all have, you know, I pride myself at looking at this. Everybody is so skilled at what they do. You know, saying, you know, as I mentioned before, we are over 50 years. I'm the youngest of the staff, you know, so, you know, I know I've only been here for 6 years and there's staff members who've been here for 20 years. And so, you know, you really have that juxtaposition, but at the same time, we're all very passionate about what we do and we're all very skilled about what we do. I like to think. So you're going to the right people. So you have ottomans, silks. I mean, again, silk breaks down. I think the most common misconception, and correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, is when people describe silk, the first word is like satin. And satin can be made in various forms. But essentially satin is just a word for the way the fabric is woven and to make it shiny. Do I have a satin? Hold that thought. I don't have a satin here. But going to that is, but silk is woven differently. You have silk file. If you're familiar with some designers, I know Oscar de la Renta uses a lot in their ready to wear for their gowns. I think it's the year of Lady Gaga for that's my reference. Lady Gaga for A Star Is Born, that like big puffy dress she won.
Yeah.
That was fabric from us. But also it's a file. So like it's a very couture fabric, you know, it's very high end, and it has body and substance. But then silk can go down to a thing called like shantung or jupioni, which really is just kind of a lighter weight silk, but it's known for its rawness and slubbiness and texture.
You can't see that because it's white.
Oh, 'cause it's
So you
white.
need a green or.
Here's a shantai.
So you kind of see these raw edges and these raw lines.
They look almost like they're pulled, but that's intentional. That's part of the character of the fabric.
Yeah, every fabric, fabric has characters. Every fabric is woven a certain way because it's supposed to be made that way, and it's supposed to kind of fulfill a purpose. And then you have, you know, shot shantung or iridescent shantung. Shot, I've noticed, is like an old term, which just means like it just changes colors. But people notice iridescent. And yeah, you kind of keep moving down and see, it's interesting to see how things are woven. And again, it's not terminology that is constantly used a lot. You know, again, it's like a subdivision, a subcategory. So, you know, a lot of designers have a hard time because they know what it's made out of. They just have a hard time figuring out of what the actual terminology is.
Right, because there's so many.
And again, like I've been here for 6 years and I'm still learning, but that's the fun part of it. And then so then like satin, kind of like what I mentioned before, maybe the fun one.
This is Beyonce's dress.
Okay, we just noticed Beyonce on the wall. So
Beyonce. So yeah, we've been here for a long time. This one's from Scott Nyland from the House of Darion in 2009.
that's so cool.
Yeah, we have a lot of good relationships with designers, and they're very kind to us and share their work for us to hang, and that just kind of brings pride. I know it's one of Scott's. Scott's our owner. He's the son. He's like the grandson of the original owner. Grandson? Yes, grandson. And his favorite part is collecting and having these designers. I mean, if you're familiar with costume designers, just to name a few, I know we have Greg Barnes, who's a Tony Award winner, Sandy Powell, an Oscar winner for Cinderella, and we have some of her sketches. And you know, I take so much pride in kind of my position as well, because we're kind of the first people in like these designers' contact list to go to first.
Right.
Like, have you checked B&J's? Let's see what they have before you kind of wiggle out to others. So it's a lot of pressure, but
I also love that it's so close to the theater district, so it all kind of makes sense. It's all part of the same.
yeah. And something very important too is that we're also close to the garment district as well. So again, I work a lot of TV shows and films, and you know, not a lot of times they're looking for fabric, so I can point them in the right direction of, you know, Johnson Embroidery, if anything quickly for buttons or embroidery,
Right.
Pacific, East Coast,
Right.
M&J, all these other stores, even our partners at Elegant Fabrics as well, just because we have a relationship and we're all really wanting everybody to succeed in this.
Right.
With the New York City changing, real estate and all that, the last thing we want to do is lose this thing that kind of makes it home for us.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, again, we try our best to divide everything.
It's gorgeous. The camera doesn't even show it
This
well.
is so cool. The liquid or
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is essentially, think of, you know, fishing wire. So someone's idea was to take fishing wire and weave it with some silk and to create like this, almost like a heavier gazar, this more futuristic gazar kind of fabric. And to give you an idea, gazar is silk, but essentially has a very similar body to this. So it's almost like this is your traditional, you know, idea of a silk, and this is kind of your more contemporary futuristic version.
So if I was making a sci-fi movie, I'm going to this
Exactly.
one.
And also too, you got to think about, especially when you're making movies or shows, what reads well.
And the
from-
lighting.
Yeah,
and
like this is
background.
just more impactful
Mhm.
than this. But if I wanted to go to a red carpet, maybe I choose this. But again, fashion, you know, one of my professors at FIT, he would always say, you know, there's a customer for everybody. And I think that's very important that, you know, you have to focus on your niche,
you know, what drives you and makes you passionate. Because the minute or when you start trying to conform gets a little tricky because you start losing yourself a little bit. And you have every designer gives something that makes it them. Like Dr. Seuss says, no one is youer than you. And that's very important to me, especially when designing, that like certain things speak to you. Because at the core of it, we're all kind of these little, we're all little actors in this play called life. So we're all these characters. So how do we best express ourselves? And fabric and color is a tool that I think is very important. Because every morning you put something on to tell the world what you're feeling, how you feel, what you're trying to portray. You know, when you dress up fancy, casual. So that's that. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have any questions, Anthony? I don't know.
Well, they want to know if they can come on a class trip. That was in the chat.
Never. No, of course. You know, thankfully, you know, I think Manhattan and New York State in general is mostly getting vaccinated. So we are opening more and we would love that. We do love to be involved with students because you guys are the future of this industry. And I think it's just very important to kind of create a staple and this welcoming environment as well for all students. So yes, please come. I'm all for it. And
Could you tell us about the dress forms? And I know sometimes it's like different looks on different forms, and I'm always like, oh wow.
So yeah, we have one person who does all our dress forms, who is quirky, but he designs all our dress forms, and he it's usually with all new fabrics, couture fabrics. His name's Michael Louis. He has a very good hand when it comes to detailing, finishing. You know, at the same time it is for display. So, you know, what's so interesting about Michael's work is the inside, even for a display piece, is just as beautiful as the outside and vice versa. And sometimes it's funny because people just kind of want to walk out with it, but you can't. It's all pinned. And then the part that everybody kind of seems to like, we call it the novelty section. And essentially it's things that are novelties, kind of like special pieces, one of a kind. You know, we have a lot of things called panel pieces. So essentially, instead of it being woven all continuously, it's broken up into panels. So like it's just done. So you can't cut in between because it ruins the whole continuous idea of it. Versus like what you're wearing, what I'm wearing is just kind of like a repetitive pattern.
So you have limitations with the width that you have to work
Exactly. And then again, I think it always comes down to the core of, oh, Michael, do you mind saying hello?
with.
Michael.
Admiring your, thank you.
Michael does all of it.
Oh, thank you.
The fun thing about this one, you cannot see in daylight, is that when there's a battery packet attached to it, and these little like lights light up, and it becomes, it's like an LED. And again, you can't really see it, but in a dark area, you know, like Cinderella.
Cinderella.
Exactly. And again, kind of bouncing back off my initial kind of discussion, we get a lot of silk from Italy. That's where it's just done. That's where quality is. And we get a lot of fashion prints as well from Italy, because when you think of Italy, you think of Versace, Gucci, Christina Ricci, but you know, there's Italy is kind of the source of what they call alta moda. So we get all our prints from various vendors who specialize in kind of following the trends of where silk prints are going. But at the same time, we try, like, very Versace-esque. We always try to find like staples, because then again, you know, a lot of these designers have trademarks and all that good stuff. So, but sometimes you kind of want to be inspired by them, and I think we're a really good place to go to for that.
Definitely. And then these on your left, Louis, are these like examples of the panels, for example?
So yeah, and sometimes, so panels, but also mixed with novelties, because sometimes, how do I explain it? So when you roll out a piece of fabric, you have your selvage to selvage. And sometimes the way these are designed versus going along the grain, so lengthwise, the design goes from one selvage to another selvage. Some people call it dégradé as well, where kind of like it's just two different, it's not equal, it's not symmetrical. So sometimes it's not best that we display it that way. You really don't see the beauty of it and you don't see the full range of it.
Like this one.
Yeah.
Because it goes.
And then again, sometimes
Yeah.
you really can't see it if we put it along with some of our other display pieces. Just because it's just display purposes. Again, hanger appeal is a common term used in fashion. You want hanger appeal, and it just looks better hung like this.
Wow.
And then this one I couldn't help but gravitate to. This is bugle beads.
Yeah. So we actually work with a mill inventor in Italy, and all these are done by hand.
It's so beautiful. It's so heavy.
Yeah. And a lot of people,
$10 a yard.
yeah, $500 yards. Because we got the good stuff. No. But also, yeah, it's all done by hand. So, you know, somebody's writing all these bugle beads in one and following a pattern. It's a very tedious task that a lot of people could do, but don't want to do.
Mhm.
So
For the
this
safety
one
part.
strand has more beads to it,
Yes.
so you really can't see it there.
And then again, another thing that, you know, beads break up into categories. Bugle bead, I think I learned, was it French sequin cups, sequins, flat sequin. It's just all these little beads have their own terminology as well.
Beads, which are the tiny, tiny ones.
Yeah, and then so all these beads are, you know, for us it's just easy to say sequins, but you know, when you get to like the technicality of it, which I think is very important in costume and fashion design, is to kind of learn these terminologies so you can best express in, I guess, the universal language of, you know, English fashion. Because if, you know, if someone wants a sequins dress, but they're really thinking of bugle beads, you know, when you give that to a factory or something, they're going to get you sequin.
Exactly.
When in your head you want bugle. I mean, it's just, we try our best to put that all in display, but also, you know, we also try to inform. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to take you to good time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It's everywhere.
I'll take you to the VIP tour. So again, we have everything displayed out on the floor on little hangers, but in our chaotic madness,
Yeah, only.
I've never been back here.
this is where all the stuff happens. So our brocade, we break down numerically, and each of those numbers is a category, you know.
So like this 4, what does that mean?
So the 4 is like your novelty, more literal prints for charmeuse. 3 is your geometric kind of, I think geometric is probably the best word to use it for, kind of prints. You know, category 2 is our floral prints. And then we have a subcategory, again, we're moving things around, which is our animal print. So anything that just has anything animal, even if it's like animal print or like an actual animal on it, we kind of separate it. Yeah.
You have to be organized, right, with all these different
Oh my gosh, you have to. And you know, a lot of people are like, oh wow, you guys are so organized. How do you do it? And I just smile. I mean, under my mask. But like, if you see the madness sometimes that we have back here, it's a lot of stuff and a lot of hands come in and out. So sometimes, you know, a section 4 piece might be in a section 2 piece, and it kind of throws it all off. But at the end of the day, we try our best, of course, to kind of keep this little hanger stock thing accurate. And at the same time, too, we try our best to kind of keep stock as well. So if we have low yardage, we'll try our best to put that on the sticker on the hanger, just so you don't get your hopes up.
That's great.
So yeah, this is our brocades, our silks, our novelty. We have a thing called section M, which is your organza novel, like organzas. And then we have georgettes or chiffons all separated. It's fun, and it's also fun to see.
But these are in the bags, those are.
So these are like, sometimes we sell out of stuff, so we try to just keep them aside, and we look into, again, if you see the back, we're getting our bathrooms redone, we're getting our AC installed, so we try our best behind the scenes. Don't tell anybody. bazaars. I mean, we try our best to put everything in subcategories that make sense for us and for you. Um, we have a hold section where a lot of designers just like to put a whole role on hold, or even movies, because stunt actors and multiples and theater, things wear and tear. So we have again VIP. No one knows about this. We have our vendor book. So each number corresponds in a Rolodex that we have.
Oh, this is top secret. Ooh.
Top secret with the vendor in it. So like we don't like I know who vendor 213 is, but I won't tell you that. But at the same time, if someone tells me like 213, I know who to call, what company carries that. And kind of, so we try our best to keep it all their color cards. Everybody does their color cards differently. Let me see if I can find a cool. I mean, some people give us that, and so that is what we use as a color card. A vendor that I like in Canada, Ivana, if you're not watching Ivana, but if you are, hi. And they give us, they're really good stock to have because they buy and make in bulk. And I know I can always reference her and ask her if she has either the same or something similar. So we try our best to coordinate it all alphabetically inside. And this is just a vendor in Canada. And again, I have a relationship with this vendor. So even with film and TV, it's a pain because a lot of things, they'll get a design and they'll have to shoot in 2 days. So it's like, okay, I need this fabric tomorrow. Yeah, basically yesterday. Oh, sorry. Construction. Behind the scenes. So with that relationship I have with her, it's like I know I can kind of work something where I can get something overnighted. Whereas like
even during COVID, you've been able to do that?
I'm sorry, even during so yeah, we followed the guidelines to our best ability. But a lot of also to be honest, a lot of people were desperate for business. Because it, fashion, TV, Broadway, it impacted and affected us all. So even during COVID, we really also kind of had, I think, a close relationship with these designers because we were hungry for it as well, and we wanted to get back into it. So even during COVID, we would ship out, with the circumstances of FedEx downstairs, and with these mills and vendors, obviously we understood every country was different. We would always tell the client too, like, hey, Europe is having a hard time, lockdown. Somebody's there like once a week maybe. So keep in mind that like it's just a lot slower. And then customs. And I know I work with a lot of films in Canada. It's like a silly fun fact, but they were doing the distribution of the vaccines. So like a lot of things got delayed. And FedEx would tell us like, hey, like things are delayed. And it's just because we're trying to put the vaccines before that, which is totally understandable. But we always have to work around that, and even designers would be like, keep that in mind when we ship stuff out. But yeah, even during COVID, we tried our best to fulfill all those needs, even for masks and cottons and all that. Cottons were a big seller, and so we tried our best to kind of do that. I don't know if any of you guys remember, we had a candy bowl up front. If you don't, we have it back here now. COVID made us take it away, but the candy bowl will come back, everybody, if you guys do care. We have all our laces back here. Fun fact about laces is they're only made in small pieces. So like you have to keep in mind that, these lace houses, this is their specialty. It takes time to create, and you really only have maybe about 5 or so meters to create. Fun fact, USA is the only people go by yards, I think. So a lot of meters to yards difference. And we'll go upstairs really quick. We have a vintage machine that rolls fabric and counts it for us. This is where we get all our new arrivals. So when new fabric comes in, we set it aside. Sorry, large. It tells you how many yards. It tells you here, it goes by eighths on this, so it'll tell you like, 4/8, a half. And this is by yards, and it just kind of continues and goes with the roll. It's fun. Don't ask me how it really works. I just know how it's fun.
building has a second floor.
I know sometimes it's not a look.
Yeah. We have a second floor. We have everything that is on the floor. It's up here, and again, we prioritize to keep everything as organized as we can. For- yeah. For lunch room, another room.
Nice. Yeah, for people that aren't familiar with this stock room, it looks very organized.
Thank you. I will not take any credit. We have nice our stock staff has been really good, especially since we've been constantly changing and kind of using this COVID time to better prepare ourselves for when things do get back.
And when we go downstairs, I'm gonna definitely ask you about the scanner. And
Oh,
thinking of
that's
the
a fun
swatches.
toy.
It's kind of a newer thing, right?
Yeah.
You'll see.
You won't find that anywhere else. But yeah, that's our shop room. You know what it feels like? Empty fridge. Get out. We don't want to get left behind.
We do. You like the mystery game?
Yes, the Mr. Machine. That's what
Yeah,
it looks like.
That's why not. We all have workstations.
Okay.
I think that's very My is constantly messy because we not each mine as reference. There are some bunch of videos. I just go again phone calls and text constantly. So I everyone say the fun toy that I was talking about. We use that COVID downtime to really kind of implement a newer system that is easy for you, the consumer, the shoppers who build a TV, and also for us to reduce the whole handwritten system that we used to have before. So mine's Wally. The Wally sticker. They just look like it.
So here's exactly what I would do. I would be swatching looking for fabric in my closet.
And I'm like, yes, get out. No. So everything has a unique SKU system. So Wally here pops out the stickers. And in that sticker, we try our best to put its content. A lot of fabric and factories like to know about the weight of things. So we put grams per square meter if you're every other country but America. And then we do the ounce per square yard. Everything also has a fun little QR code. And most phones are capable of just, if you open your camera app, it'll scan it. And that takes you to the direct link on our website. It's just great, one, for us because we know what we're looking for. Two, especially fashion students who again aren't familiar with terminology yet, can just see a visual kind of like, oh, this is the cotton can. Oh, it's like, and they have that in front of them. And then again, for theater, it works a lot too because let's say it's 6 months into the show and they haven't been buying more of it. If we don't have it, at least we know it's more nice. So we have all that system of like vendors and all that on our system on our backside office, and then we can be like, hey, we can get more of this and all that stuff. So that's the fun little play. And this watch it here. And it's because everybody's
It's such a lifesaver.
There was a question in the chat about swatches.
Yes.
So how do you do your swatches?
So,
Are they free? Do you
swatches
pay?
are all free. We do not
Okay.
charge for swatches. Swatches are all free. There are a few exceptions of swatches. We try our best not to swatch our novelty and our laces. They just come in smaller quantities, and it just when you cut into them, it just damages the fabric as well. But we do offer kind of full scan spreadsheets of all that. Swatches are all free. I know pre-COVID we had a student swatching hour, which is usually the first hour of every day. I know that things in school is a little flex and things have changed. We won't turn you down. Feel free to come back for swatches. We usually have a maximum of 15, but every project is different. And if you work with us and just ask us, we can coordinate something and do our best.
So like if I came in today, I got 15 swatches, then I came back tomorrow.
You can, if you're working with me, you get as many swatches as you like. I'm like, and again, this also makes this little toy just makes it easier for you and I that, with the original reason why we had student swatching hours was to dedicate a time for students. And then we have our influx of designers, theaters, that it's just hard to kind of coordinate all that along with these swatches. So thankfully for this Wally has reduced our time and it has made it easier for everybody to get swatches when we offer swatches online as well if you can't come into the store or just are feeling a little not as comfortable coming out. We do swatch requests via email, all that good stuff.
Perfect.
So what's online? Is it the same as what's in person?
Yes, so all these SKU numbers correspond with the SKU number on our website. So if you were to type that in the website, it should populate. If it doesn't populate on the website, it's not numerous reasons, but a few reasons. One, it's low in stock, so we don't want to put it on the website and have you sad if you can't get it. Two, it's on hold, or three, it's sold out. But also two, feel free to call. Again, we are increasing our inventory. So, there's not a lot of good pictures to be posted on the website. So that's why we don't have it available there yet. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
What else do you have for us over there?
So I just picked up a few things. So again, we've been over here. I just discovered, this has been on my table. I had a client ask for it. This has been with us, I think older than I am. So I am 27. And allegedly this has been here for a very long time. And it's just a fun fact, this was a trend back in the day. And allegedly each clown is a famous, I guess clowns can be celebrities. Yeah. So, oh, see? So these are all allegedly famous clowns who, succeeded in their gigs. Fun fact too, again, we work a lot of mills that work with a lot of international fashion houses. This is something that you probably would have seen at Gucci or something similar, and we got in a colorway. It's just a very fun silk blended lame. And just also too, if you guys see a novelty, kind of what I mean is when fabrics go in one direction versus the other. This is all a hand beaded spool. Oh yes, please.
I have a question in the chat about the design.
If I did, I would have. No, kidding. You have a lot of costume designers who, I think we created this niche out of different fabric stores of providing things quickly. And sometimes you get a lot of designers who just really rely on that, and we try our best. I don't think I have any nightmare stories. I like to consider myself a people pleaser. One of my first customer service jobs was at Banana Republic. And one of my bosses would always tell me, never tell the client no, always have no but. So no, I cannot do that. However, I can do this. So it's a more nightmare stories of kind of like not delivering to designers because it just it's a domino effect. If I can't deliver it, then you have to tell your factory, and then that pushes the factory dedicated this time to you, and then sometimes fees add on top of that, and then it's just no horror stories to designers yet. personally.
Good. Let's keep it that way for you.
But yes, hand beaded tool, they go in one direction, but at the same time, you could design a dress vertically, design a dress horizontally at an angle.
This is fabulous. I'm scared to find out how much this costs.
That's a good question.
You're gonna scare me now.
$7.50.
$7.50.
That's why maybe you just have to get like a happy hour.
Yeah.
But then, something to keep in mind, which we really try to refrain from sampling, is that, again, this is all one continuous thread. So when you cut it, it just unravels, and one leaves us with damaged fabric, or two, you go home to damaged fabrics.
This is really.
And then, like, for example, I mean, this might be a bad example, but you might want to overlay it. I know. See, I was gonna say it's probably a bad example, but like then you have, satin tulle. A lot of people love to match the satin or their underlayer with the tulle coloring underneath. A lot of designers cut and applique around. We try our best to tell you what the fabric wants to do or can do. Obviously, like in Mary Poppins, anything can happen if you let it. So like, obviously, if you feel so inclined, there is a way to do it. Might be a little bit more difficult, might not be advised, but we try our best to follow your bliss. But at the same time, we try to do our best to tell you like, hey, this probably won't do that. Maybe look at something else. Fun fact, we work with we work with a very prestigious mill in Italy that caters to a lot of silk, and this is like a traditional silk that's just satin. It's just crispier, drier.
Breaks down.
Yeah.
Thing.
And the color doesn't represent it. But you
That's
see,
true.
yeah,
It's much richer in
Yeah.
person.
color doesn't even represent it.
And then again, I think with a lot of we have a lot of employees, and everybody is good at different things. And as the consumer, not as a consumer, but as a customer designer, maybe I'm not the best person, and I'll recommend you to somebody else who I think has that same design aesthetic, has a familiar idea of what you're trying to do. Like formal evening wear isn't my forte, so maybe I'd pinpoint them to Michael Mui, who's something like that. It just everybody has different taste levels as well. So we try our best to kind of curate a special experience for you.
There's a question in the chat about the colors and the expense. Like certain colors are more expensive than others. Why would that be? Is it dye or is it?
That it goes into a variety of things. So there's a thing called yarn dye, which is essentially the yarn that is the yarn that weaves the fabric together is dyed first, versus fabric that is woven in like a white or prepared for dyeing and then dyed as a bulk. Usually like yarn dyed goods are a little bit more expensive, but it's just again quality. And then it's because it's also longer to reproduce because you have one machine working on one color, whereas like you can have multiple dye batches and dye it all. So that might be a reason why colors cost more. Again, sometimes custom colors. And then again, keeping in mind of where we get it from. And again, we one of the mills that we work with, which I won't say the name, but it's very prestigious, and they've worked with Dior, Yves Saint Laurent for decades, and that's their specialty. And it's all yarn dyed, and it's all woven, and that fabric will cost more than other silks, just because their prices are high as well, but quality.
Well, thank you so much for this amazing tour and like intro to textiles. I want to buy everything. And
Not me too.
Can anyone shop there, or is it limited?
We are open to the public. It is not, we're not checking tax IDs, we're not checking customer, if your certificate is open to the public.
And the exact street and between streets?
So we're in the heart of the garment district, right on 7th Avenue, between 38th and 39th Street.
Okay.
next to a Starbucks on the second floor.
Okay.
So I'd love to pass it to Angelique. Angelique, do you have any questions from the audience that Louis or we could answer?
Hi, so I'm just like so inspired, ready to go design the next collection. So I think Stacy's been really keeping up with the questions. I think they wanted to know what is the most expensive fabric you have there and why? Like how much is it?
Two things. That's a loaded question. I'm gonna try my best to break it down to three. I don't think I've seen a fabric cost more than $1,200 a yard. One of them I know we sold to the Broadway show Moulin Rouge, and that one costs a lot because it's all hand beaded and it's very meticulous, different beading, it's quality beading. That one would cost more. That's roughly around, like, I think $1,000, $1,200 a yard. We had another fabric which was a double face satin, and we have a client who worked for Broadway who hand painted the fabric as a panel. So that was a pricier fabric because of the originality of it, and it's really unique. It was all hand painted. And then thirdly, we work with a lot of film, so we've been kind of, getting into buying antique and vintage fabrics. And there's a lot of, if you're into that kind of category of fabrics, and if you're like a connoisseur, we carry a lot of vintage fabrics that become expensive because they're, one, vintage, so over 20, 30, 40, 50 years old. And two, they come from like, these mills that no longer exist, and they just kind of have a reputation behind them. And those can be expensive as well. Just because limited quantity, again, super original, and just, you can't find them. They're vintage. You can't find them anywhere.
Thank you for that.
You want to know who cuts that fabric or who sells that fabric?
We cut the fabric. We all are very well skilled with scissors. And who sews the fabric, that's just depending who you hire. It could be yourself. It could be, we have a repertoire of people we can recommend who have been shopping with us again for years, decades. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. We're here calling you the fabric guru. You're so knowledgeable and so young. We're like, how did he get all that information in such a short period?
I was telling Anthony, I took an improv class, so I could be making all this up, but you won't know.
No, you're not, because I know my fabrics and you were right on point.
Okay, good.
Yes, that's wonderful.
you.
Does anybody have any more questions before we go?
That fabric that he was just showing as this on the table, can you sew on it? The one you said that you can't cut, or you have to hand sew it?
That's where a lot of this work comes down to skill, because again, it is beading, it is sequence. A lot of it has to probably mostly be done sewn by hand. If you're working with a couturier or somebody who specializes in evening wear, they will cut some beads off to kind of create the pattern on the body, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So a lot of it is hand sewing. A lot of it is tedious. A lot of it is like cutting these things around so that you can sew it together. Only manicure, but cutting these things around so you can sew around it. So yes, you can put it through a machine, but you're going to be very frustrated because your needle's going to break continuously over and over unless you prep the fabric accordingly. And then that also goes down to the design eye, because then with that in mind, you have to coordinate and work your pattern around it. If that makes sense.
Yes. Thank you.
You don't want a seam right where that big diamond is. So either you cut the seam or move your pattern piece. And then you get left over, sadly, with a lot of fabric. And I know there's a lot of designers, zero waste designers, who often collect that and get inspired and use it as little appliques or something. But yeah, yes, you could sew it. You're gonna get very frustrated if you do it on a machine.
Thank you.
Of course.
Anybody else?
Any more questions for Louis?
No.
Do you have sale and clearance rack?
Do I have who?
A sale and clearance rack?
We do. Actually, the clown fabric, since he's been here for a while, he's only $10 a yard. Stock up. No, we have a lot of reduced price silks. So sometimes they're 50% off. That's all found on our website. You can also check it here.
You want to give us your website?
Yes, it is www.B&J.fabrics.com. The name of the store.com.
What do you guys do with your scraps?
So we donated a lot to, I believe, FIT and Parsons. So we, a lot of teachers like to collect those and use it just as display and kind of just to have when they do fabric teachings in their classrooms.
Do you give discounts for bulk orders?
Yes. When you buy, so it's when you buy more than 10 yards, it has to be of the same fabric in the same style, same color. So it's not an accumulative amount of fabrics. It's just the fabric and the style. So it works great with production when you're trying to run one consistent item. The next tier then is 50 yards, then you have 100 yards, and then you have when you buy more than 500 yards. We do have a fun little discount. We call it the no cut sale. It's 10% off if we don't have to cut it or if it's the end of the roll. So even if it's like 2.5 yards, you'll get 10% off.
Okay. Cool, that's good to know.
And if we don't cut it, yeah. And then fun fact, if we didn't cut it, it's eligible for an exchange or return. So a lot of people like to buy it because if it kind of doesn't reach their math that they thought they would, but you know, the consumer loves it, they'll place the pattern and try to manipulate it and work around it. And if that doesn't work out, they can bring it back and we'll accept it.
Cool, that is a great fact to know. Yeah, especially for emerging designers. Yeah.
Yes, and fun thing for emerging designers too, when you kind of present to clients, is we have a memo service, so you can rent out the header for 2 days. You can bring that with you, especially for the expensive fabrics that you kind of need to present to a client in full. We offer that as well. We just have a credit card on file.
Amazing.
You're talking about like this here.
Yes.
We try our
What
best
is
not to
the-
do
what
the
is the
basic
days?
fabric.
You don't know what
But-
I'm just pointing out.
Yes,
like
yes,
this. Okay.
We just got
What are
really
the days?
excited here.
That's
Your
actually
days of
something that I didn't even know
operation, are you
about.
open on Sundays?
No, so we are Monday through Friday, 8:45 to 5:45. Saturdays from 12 to 4 at this moment.
Okay.
Any other last minute questions while we have Louis here?
Going once.
Going twice. Because I'm not answering anything when you come to
Well, we just want to say thank you so much for inviting us in and giving us a tour behind the scenes, things that I've never seen. Totally inspired and really grateful for you partnering with us to, share all this resources with us. Amazing.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm very passionate about industry and the garment center and this cause that is part of this collaborative. So anything I can share from what I've learned, I've been interning here since I was 19, not interning B&J's, but like in fashion since I was 19. And there's some things that, I will admit the fashion industry is competitive. So some people keep these secrets, but sometimes I wish people would have told me these things earlier. So anything that I can share that I've learned to reduce time for you is a fun thing for me.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. This was great. Great, great, great. You did an amazing job. Woo! Thank you.
So next week we have another workshop Wednesday. It's leadership in sustainable fashion. I'll be live in the garment district, but please tune in again and we'll be doing these workshops through June. So thank you so much and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Well
Bye.
done, job.